Sir Winston Churchill once said that if you're going through hell, keep going. And I also liked what tennis player Arthur Ashe once said, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can do. And both of these sayings are apt as I go back in time to recount an anecdote from my life that if you're going through tough times, I hope may help you to realise that things can get better. They say that every picture tells a story, and this one is no exception. It takes me back to one of the hardest times of my life. However, it's not a sorry tale, so stay with me as there's some value to the lessons I learned. In 1990, I bought a business with arcade videos and machines in pubs and clubs from my brother. It was meant to be another step forward in our lives, but turned out to be anything but. I'm not going to go into details, suffice to say that everything I'd worked for from when I got married in 1982 until such time was lost. By 1991, I was using my record collection to do markets, selling them to keep food coming in for myself, Carol, 4-year-old James and 3-month-old Henry. I managed to get through 1991, but by the end of the year the collection had gone. We had no money, a Nissan Patrol that would break down every time I encountered a hill, and we were just about to be made homeless. We missed homelessness by a few days. We were housed by the council in March 1992, 10 years to the month from when I got married. Basically, I camped in the housing department offices, refusing to leave. Each day I did the same thing, until in the end they realised it was urgent. I was out of work, had no money to start again, but at least with a roof over our heads. I managed to sell the Patrol to a guy in Exeter. We needed a car, but this car was all we could afford. As you can see, it's in a sorry state. However, it drove really well, but every time Carol took it out, she'd get pulled up by the police because it looked so rough. Because of this, we named the car the Yellow Peril. She used to moan about it all the time, and so in the end, I went and bought some yellow undercoat, some yellow gloss, some filler and a radiator roller, and within a week, it looked reasonable again, if you didn't look too closely. As I said, things were really bad for us at the time. We were clutching at straws and trying to hang on for dear life. My self-image was at an all-time low. Only a few years earlier, we were holidaying in Florida, buying a 6-month-old car, and we were reasonably comfortable. And now we were eating beans on toast for each meal in order for us to feed the kids properly. But 1992 was a year of change, and one that slowly but surely started to make me feel better about myself. For a start, I got myself a job working at New Look as a clothes picker in their warehouse. And must have been okay because within 6 weeks I was offered the chance to train to be a trainer, which I did, and within a few weeks that's what I became. It was only a tiny raise in pay, but it was good for my self-esteem. Also around that time I got invited to look at a business opportunity. It turned out to be Amway. I'd heard so many stories about the Amway opportunity, but that didn't concern me because years before I'd bought their products, and they were great. Before we go any further, I'm well aware of the negative things people have said about Amway as a business, especially how people supposedly lost their shirts, etc. But I only had a couple of shirts to lose at the time, and not much else worth anything, so we weren't put off. The starter kit was £75, which we scraped together and decided to give it a go. We were lucky to have people involved who could give us hints and tips on the way to go. But what it entailed was the need for me to show the opportunity to others as I'd been. And so I went off, tentatively at first, but with the hope that maybe, just maybe, this could be a way to help us get back on our feet. Now imagine this, someone in a suit coming to show you a business opportunity in that yellow car. But that's what I did without any success for a while. But over the first year I worked diligently at New Look in the day and at my Amway business in the evenings. And I'll tell you this, I drove that car up and down the country at night, slowly but surely developing our business. I'd be at work in the day, drive to Surrey one night, drive home, do a day's work the next day, and drive to somewhere else, like perhaps Devon the next night, and so on and so on. But this little car never gave out on me, and over the next year it worked as hard as I had, and eventually in 1993 we were in the position to get rid of it and buy a 4-year-old Peugeot 405. The story doesn't end there though. A week later, I'm sitting in my living room and the doorbell rings. I open the door only to find 2 policemen stood there. Mr. Murphy? Yes. We're here about your car. Yes, there it is, I said, pointing at the Peugeot. No, not that car, your other car. What car? The Fiesta. I've sold it. I notified the DVLA. Well, according to them, you still own it. I absolutely don't. Besides, what about it? We found it this morning, reversed into the front window of a Dixons in Gloucester. Now it turns out the person that bought the car from me went to Gloucester with it and a Ford Transit, back into the store window with a Fiesta, and a group of them loaded thousands of pounds worth of telly and audio equipment into the van. So, not only did it work well for me, it worked well for them too. I never did find out whether they got caught or not. As for Amway, we developed it to a point where we were doing okay, getting advice from a couple in Braunton, North Devon, who had achieved financial freedom, and we were on the road to achieving more. But sadly, after I left New Look in 1996, I was taken ill and spent 3 years recovering and getting back to full health, which was what I was focused on. And because of that, we stopped building our Amway business, I lost focus, and in the end, called it a day. In regard to my illness, I spent 3 months in bed and much longer building my strength back up. The doctors told me that I'd never be able to do physical work again and I'd need to change my lifestyle. I decided not to listen to them. Once I'd got my health back, I pushed myself to do more and ended up with an amount of funfair equipment that I used to get about, and also a disco that involved lugging heavy speakers about. At the end of the day, you have to find your own truth. In the years following, we moved forward, slowly at first, as I still had to build my own self-esteem. But this story reminds me of how we started to rebuild our lives. And it also reminded me that when times are tough, you just have to keep going. If this video has been of any value to you, please hit that like button and feel free to share it with anyone that you think may benefit from hearing it. If you'd like to comment, just do it down there. And click up there if you'd like to see another video.